All right, everyone, buckle up. We're about to take a deep dive into the animal kingdom, and trust me, you don't want to miss this.
You think you know animals? Well, get ready for some serious myth busting.
We're talking about those stories we've all heard, the ones that sound a little too good to be true. Like, do chameleons really change color to match their surroundings?
Oh, the chameleon myth. That's a classic.
I mean, I've seen it in countless nature documentaries. They just blend right in, like magic.
It makes for a great visual, but the truth is a little less dramatic.
You're telling me chameleons don't use their color-changing abilities for camouflage?
Not primarily, no. While camouflage can play a role, their color shifts are mainly about communication and temperature control.
Hold on. So it's not about hiding from predators.
It's more like they're sending signals to each other, like a visual language.
Okay, so it's less about blending in and more about standing out.
Exactly. They use color to express mood, establish dominance, even attract mates.
Wow, that's pretty sophisticated for a reptile.
It's more complex than most people realize, and it all comes down to some amazing biology.
Okay, I'm all ears. How does it actually work?
Imagine this. Beneath their skin, they have a layer of tiny crystals called nanocrystals.
Nanocrystals, like microscopic crystals.
Exactly. And by adjusting their skin, they can change how these nanocrystals are arranged, which affects how light reflects off them.
So it's not about pigments changing color, it's about these tiny crystals acting like dot mirrors.
It's a simplified way to put it, but you're on the right track.
That's mind-blowing. And to think we're just starting to understand how it all works.
Nature is full of surprises, and chameleons are just the tip of the iceberg.
So what other animal myths are we tackling today? I'm ready for more.
Well, how about ladybugs? Everyone thinks they're harmless little garden helpers, right?
Yeah, they're cute, they eat aphids. What's not to love?
Well, here's the thing. Not all ladybugs are created equal.
Wait, are you telling me there are bad ladybugs out there?
Some species actually munch on plants.
No way. So those cute little spots can be deceiving.
It's a good reminder to look beyond the surface.
Okay, I'm officially intrigued. Tell me more about these plant-eating imposters.
It all comes down to the type of ladybug. Some are beneficial predators, while others can cause damage to crops and gardens.
So how do we know which ones to welcome and which ones to watch out for?
Well, there are some visual cues, but it's always best to know the specific species that are common in your area.
So a little ladybug knowledge can go a long way.
Exactly. And speaking of creatures with a reputation, how about poison dart frogs?
Oh yeah, those tiny but deadly amphibians. I remember reading that just one frog can kill thousands of people.
There's some truth to their toxicity, but those claims are often exaggerated.
So touching one won't instantly send you 6 feet under.
The real danger comes from the poison entering the bloodstream, like through a cut.
Makes sense. But if they're so dangerous, how can people keep them as pets?
Well, captive-bred poison dart frogs are actually non-toxic because they lack the dietary sources of their toxins.
Wait, so it's all about what they eat?
Their diet directly influences their toxicity.
Fascinating, right?
It's amazing how much we can learn by just taking a closer look at these creatures.
Exactly. There's always more to the story than meets the eye.
All right, so we've tackled chameleons, ladybugs, and poison dart frogs. What other animal mysteries are we diving into today?
Let's talk about octopuses. They're often portrayed as these super intelligent alien-like beings.
I've heard they have 9 brains and 3 hearts.
Those are just 2 of the many myths surrounding these fascinating creatures.
So what's the reality? Are they really as intelligent as people say?
They are incredibly smart for invertebrates, but let's not get carried away.
Okay, I'm ready to separate fact from fiction. Tell me everything.
Well, for starters, the 9 brains thing is a bit of an oversimplification.
So they don't have multiple brains.
They have a central brain and 8 ganglia, which are clusters of nerve cells in their arms.
So each arm has its own mini brain.
You could say that. It allows them to control their movements with incredible dexterity. That's still pretty amazing. And what about the 3 hearts?
2 hearts pump blood through the gills, and the third circulates blood to the rest of the body.
Okay, so not quite as outlandish as it sounds, but their intelligence is still remarkable, right?
Definitely. They're known for their problem-solving skills, their ability to learn and remember, and even their escape artistry.
I've seen videos of them squeezing through tiny spaces. It's like they're liquid.
They're masters of contortion. But as fascinating as they are, let's not over-romanticize them.
Right, they're not plotting world domination or anything.
Exactly. But there are still some who believe they might have extraterrestrial origins, because of their unique intelligence and those incredible camouflage abilities.
Wait, are you serious? People think octopuses are aliens.
It's a fringe theory, but it's out there.
Yeah.
Of course, the scientific evidence points to a much more earthly origin.
So, no ancient alien intervention.
Not that we know of. But hey, that's the beauty of science, right? There's always something new to discover, always another mystery to unravel.
Okay, so we've talked about chameleons changing colors for reasons other than camouflage, and ladybugs with a not-so-cute side. We've learned that poison dart frogs' toxicity is all about their diet, and that octopuses might be smart, but they're probably not aliens.
And that's just the beginning. We've got plenty more animal myths to debunk and fascinating facts to uncover, so stay tuned. It's amazing how these myths stick around, even with all the information we have today.
I know, right? It's like they become part of our collective imagination. But let's get back to those poison dart frogs for a second. You mentioned that indigenous tribes use their poison for blowgun darts.
That's right. Certain tribes in South America have traditionally used those secretions for hunting.
So it's not just a myth. It's really that potent.
The poison, called batrachotoxin, is incredibly powerful. It can disrupt the nervous system and can be lethal.
That's intense. But how do the frogs themselves not get poisoned? They're literally covered in it.
That's a question scientists have been exploring for a while. The leading theory is that they have evolved specific adaptations that make them immune to their own toxins.
So they've got like a built-in defense system.
Exactly. It's a fascinating example of coevolution, where the frogs and their poison have developed side by side.
That's incredible. But let's shift gears a bit. What about the ethics of keeping these frogs as pets? I mean, it seems kind of risky, right?
You raise a good point. Even though captive-bred poison dart frogs are non-toxic, there are still ethical considerations to think about.
Like the impact on wild populations and the whole issue of the illegal pet trade.
Exactly. It's crucial to be a responsible owner if you're thinking about getting an exotic pet. Understanding their needs, making sure you're getting them from a reputable source, and ensuring their well-being are all crucial.
Couldn't agree more. Protecting these creatures should be a top priority. Now let's talk about octopuses again. We touched on their intelligence earlier, but I've heard a lot about their potential for consciousness and even feeling pain.
There's a growing body of evidence that suggests octopuses might experience those things in a way that's very different from other invertebrates.
So it's not just about reflexes or instinct, they actually feel it.
The research seems to indicate that yes, their nervous system is incredibly complex. They have more neurons than some mammals even.
Wow, that's pretty mind-blowing. Doesn't that raise ethical questions about how we treat them, like in research or in the food industry?
Absolutely. The more we learn about octopuses, the more we need to think about our responsibilities toward them.
It's a good reminder that we need to approach our interactions with other species with respect and care. Speaking of incredible abilities, let's go back to those octopus camouflage skills. They're practically masters of disguise.
Their camouflage is truly remarkable. It's not just about color either. It's about texture and reflectivity as well. They have these cells called chromatophores, iridophores, and leucophores that allow them to match their surroundings with incredible precision.
So it's like having a whole toolkit for blending in.
Precisely. And they can even change the texture of their skin with these special cells called papillae.
It's like a 3D printer for creating the perfect disguise.
You could say that. And don't forget about their ability to change their body shape and posture as well. They can really make themselves practically invisible.
Now, earlier we talked about octopuses probably evolving from a common ancestor with other cephalopods. But some people still think they might have come from outer space. Have scientists completely ruled that out?
While it's fun to imagine, all the evidence we have points to octopuses evolving right here on Earth. Their genetics, their fossil record, their anatomy, it all lines up with other cephalopods.
No ancient alien intervention.
Not that we've found. Their evolution is just a testament to how powerful natural selection can be in shaping life. But speaking of evolution and amazing adaptations, let's go back to chameleons for a moment. Remember those tongues?
Oh yeah, those tongues are insane. It's like they have a built-in slingshot for catching prey.
They can extend and retract their tongues at incredible speeds. We're talking 50 Gs of acceleration.
50 Gs. That's like what fighter pilots experience.
And then the tip of the tongue is coated with sticky mucus so it can grab onto prey with incredible force.
It's not just speed, it's power and stickiness too.
Exactly. And all of that happens so fast, it's almost impossible to see.
Chameleons are just full of surprises. I mean, we debunked the myth about their color-changing abilities,
Mm.
but they still have all these other incredible adaptations. It's like they're making up for it.
That's a good way to put it. It just goes to show how evolution can fine-tune creatures to thrive in their specific environments.
And it reminds us that there's always more to learn. But we've got one more creature to talk about today, one that's shrouded in mystery and even fear, the bat.
Bats definitely get a bad rap, but they're actually incredibly important to their ecosystems.
Yeah, people think they're blind, blood-sucking creatures that get tangled in your hair.
It's time to set the record straight and separate fact from fiction.
Okay, so let's do it. What are some of the most common bat myths, and what's the truth behind them? So, are bats really blind? Is that just a myth?
Oh, that's a big one. They definitely aren't blind. A lot of bats use echolocation, to get around and find food in the dark.
Right, they make those clicking sounds and listen for the echoes.
Exactly. But they still have working eyes. They might not see as well as we do, but they're not blind.
So it's like they have a superpower in regular vision.
You could say that. And their echolocation is pretty amazing. They basically create a sound map of their surroundings, even in complete darkness.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, so what about the blood-sucking thing? Are all bats vampires?
Well, that's another myth that needs debunking. Out of all the bat species out there, and there are over 1,400 of them, only 3 actually feed on blood.
Wow, really? Only 3?
Yep. And those vampire bats are only found in parts of Central and South America. Most bats eat totally different things.
So what do the other bats eat if not blood?
Insects are a big one. They gobble up tons of insects, including those pesky mosquitoes. Some bats eat fruit, nectar, or pollen.
Oh, so they're like little pollinators.
Exactly. And some even fish.
Bats that fish. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It sounds like we need to give bats a better reputation.
Definitely. They're super important for keeping ecosystems healthy. They help control insects, pollinate plants, and spread seeds around.
So they're actually doing a lot of good for the environment.
Big time. But sadly, bats are facing a lot of threats these days. Habitat loss, diseases, climate change. It's a tough time for them.
It sounds like we need to be doing more to protect them. Well, we've learned a lot today. We've busted some major myths about chameleons, ladybugs, poison dart frogs, and even octopuses. And now we know that bats aren't the scary creatures some people think they are.
It's amazing how much we can learn when we take a closer look and question what we think we know.
Absolutely. The animal kingdom is full of surprises and wonder. So keep those curious minds going, and thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.